morning students. Let us continue the topic basics of zoology. In the last lecture, we have discussed various kinds of invertebrate phyla. Now we are going to discuss vertebrate phyla. Phylum Chordata. Phylum Chordata. All the animals are grouped into two categories based on presence or absence of notochord. As I told you previously, notochord. Notochord, it is a rigid rod-like. It is a rigid rod-like structure found on the dorsal side of the body. Found on the dorsal side of the body, this is ventral side. Where the belly is present, that is ventral side. Where the vertebral column is present, that is dorsal side. Where the limbs arises, these are the lateral sides. Where the mouth is present, that is anterior end. Where the tail is present, that is posterior end. So, anterior, posterior, ventral, dorsal, and these are the lateral sides, right? Remember. So, the notochord found on the dorsal side of the body. If notochord is present, those animals are described as chordates. If absent, non-chordates. We have already discussed about various kinds of non-invertebrate or non-chordate phyla, right? So, we have already discussed about various invertebrate phyla. So, in invertebrates, notochord is absent, but here notochord is present. The phylum Chordata includes protochordates. What are protochordates? Protochordates are primitive chordates. These are primitive chordates. These protochordates are exclusively marine animals. These are exclusively marine animals living in sea habitat. Exclusively marine animals. These protochordates are of two types: urochordates and cephalochordates. These protochordates are of two types: urochordates and cephalochordates. What are urochordates? In these urochordates, notochord found only in tail region. Only in tail region, particularly larval tail region. Particularly, the notochord found in the larval tail region. This notochord absent in adults. It is absent in adult urochordates. Absent, right? Whereas, come to cephalochordates. Cephalochordates, the notochord extends from head to tail, head to tail region. So, in uro means tail. In urochordates, notochord found only in larval tail region, which was absent in adult urochordates. But whereas in cephalochordates, notochord extends from head to tail region, present throughout the life. Present throughout the life means present in both larval and adult condition also. And what are the examples of urochordates? Urochordates example, Salpa, Asidia. There are many examples, two examples are enough, because this is introduction only. Come to cephalochordates example, Amphioxus. Amphioxus is the example of a cephalochordata, right? Phylum Chordata Phylum Chordata is divided into 3 subphyla. 3 subphyla. You know, in previous lecture we have discussed various taxonomic categories like kingdom, phylum. So subphylum lies below the phylum. Subphylum lies below the phylum. So Phylum Chordata is divided into 3 subphyla named as Urochordata, Urochordata, Cephalochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. Yeah, these are the 3 subphyla. About Urochordata and Cephalochordata we already discussed. Example of Urochordata, Asidia. Example of Cephalochordata, Amphioxus. Right? Why these are called chordates? Because they have notochord. Because they have notochord. Now come to vertebrata. What are vertebrata? You know, in these vertebrates, notochord is replaced. Notochord is replaced by vertebral column. Notochord is replaced by vertebral column. Vertebral column is a backbone. You know, this notochord found only in embryonic stage. Embryonic stage of vertebrates. This notochord is gradually replaced by the vertebral column in the adult. So, if vertebral column are present, those chordates are called as vertebrates. But you remember, all chordates are not vertebrates, but all vertebrates are chordates. Because there are 2 primitive chordates. These are generally called as primitive chordates, but these are not vertebrates. These are not vertebrates. So, all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. Under subphylum Vertebrata, there are 5 classes. How many classes? 5 classes. What are the 5 classes? The first one, Pisces. Second, Amphibia. Students, this is not a new information. You already studied in previous classes, Amphibia. And the third one, Reptilia, class Reptilia. And the fourth one, Aves. And the fifth one, Mammals. Mammals. Yeah, these are the 5 classes under subphylum Vertebrata: Pisces, amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammals. You know, Pisces includes fishes. Fishes like shark, katla, shark, katla. And amphibians, the well-known example is a frog. Right? Reptiles, you know, snakes, lizards, crocodiles, aves. These are generally referred as birds. And mammals, milk-giving animals. The milk-giving animals are called mammals. Man is a mammal, a cat, dog, elephant, horse, blue whale. All these are different types of mammals. So, the subphylum Vertebrata is divided into 5 classes: fishes, amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammals. Right? With this, Vertebrata phylum is over. Vertebrata phylum is over. In junior zoology, there are 8 units. Right? Units. in first year. First year BIPC, there are 8 units. Unit 1, diversity of living world. Diversity of living world. Right. And unit 2, structural organization in animals. Structural organization in animals. And unit 3 is animal diversity 1. Animal diversity 1, which means invertebrate phyla. Invertebrate phyla. And unit 4, animal diversity 2. Animal diversity 2, that is vertebrate phyla. Vertebrate phyla. Then unit 5, locomotion and reproduction in protozoa. Locomotion and reproduction in protozoa. You know, protozoa is a phylum. This protozoa phylum comes under kingdom Protista. As I told you previously, unicellular eukaryotes belongs to phylum Protozoa like amoeba, paramecium, euglena, verticella, plasmodium. Now, unit 6, biology in human welfare. Biology in human welfare. And unit 7, unit 7, Periplaneta americana. Periplaneta americana, it's a cockroach. So a complete and detailed study of cockroach is there in unit 6. Periplaneta americana is the scientific name of cockroach. And the last unit is ecology and environment. Ecology and environment. Yeah, these are the 8 units given in first year BIPC, right? So in this session, in the coming session, we are going to discuss about biology in human welfare lesson, that is unit 6, right? Now we are going to discuss unit 6, biology in human welfare. So in this lesson, we are going to discuss how the biology play important role in the development of human beings, in the welfare of human beings, right? A caption is given, that is an uninvited guests, and they cause silent epidemics. Silent epidemics. Uninvited guests, you know, Here parasites are uninvited guests. We are not inviting them, but suddenly they enter into our body through various means, through food or through water or through the skin, right? So these are uninvited guests and they cause a silent epidemic. Epidemic is a disease. Epidemic is a disease which can spread, which is a particularly infectious disease, which can spread from one person to another person immediately in a short span of time, which can infect many people. You know, best example for epidemic is cholera. Cholera is a epidemic disease. In a fraction of seconds or in a fraction of minutes, it can infect many people, right? So an uninvited guest and the silent epidemics they cause. At least 1/3 of all known animal species, at least 1/3 of all known animal species are estimated to be parasites. Estimated to be parasites. You know, a parasite is an organism which depends on another organism. The another organism in the sense that is a host. So parasite depends on host. For what purposes? The parasite depends on host for food and shelter. For food and shelter, right? So parasite is an organism which cannot survive independently, which depends on host for its nutritional requirements and shelter. So at least 1/3 of animal species, all known animal species are estimated to be parasites, right? Parasites, generally most of the parasites are causes epidemic diseases. Epidemic diseases. There are 130 parasites, 130 types of parasites invading into the human beings, as host. 130 types of parasites. You know, in ancient Greece, a person who is amused or flattered the host in return of free meals. In return of free meals, that is called as a professional dinner guest. Once again I am repeating, in ancient Greece, a person who is amused or flattered the host in return of free meals. Such a person is described as a parasite. Described as a parasite because that person attracting the other people in getting free meals and lodging. So that person is generally called as a professional dinner guest. A professional dinner guest is getting free meals from the host. So in ancient Greece, such kind of people are described as parasites. You know, the same characterization seen in original parasites. Parasites also getting free meals and lodging from the host. They are not paying any money for getting shelter or for getting food, getting free meals and lodging, right? Why the parasites are generally called as silent epidemics? Silent epidemics, you know, generally people do not aware the presence of parasites in their body till the symptoms appear. Till the symptoms appear, we do not aware the presence of the parasites. That's why the parasites are generally called as silent epidemics. Parasites tend to disturb our immunity system. Our immunity system. Our immunity system is disturbed by the parasites. So the main target of a parasite inside the body of the host is immunological system. The immunological system gives resistance against the disease. When this system is disturbed, a person gets a sickness, then shows the symptoms, right? In the life history of man, the single most undiagnosed health challenge is parasites. In the life history of man, the single most undiagnosed health challenge. Without symptoms, we cannot diagnose the presence of parasites. Remember, without symptoms, we cannot diagnose the presence of parasites. So, in the history of man, the single most undiagnosed health challenge is the parasites. Right? There are so many disorders, diseases seen in the tropical countries like in this session we are discussing introduction of biology in human welfare, not original topic, introduction only. In tropical countries, several diseases like plague, malaria, dengue, smallpox, filariasis. And these are the different types of diseases seen in tropical countries generally. Smallpox was completely wiped out from the earth's surface due to the efforts of WHO, World Health Organization. Due to the efforts of World Health Organization, the smallpox disease was completely eradicated from the earth's surface. Plague, which killed many people in the past, but now it is a part of the history. Plague was also completely eradicated like smallpox with the efforts of WHO, but malaria is still evading control, not completely wiped out, still evading control from the earth's surface. Right? There are two important things which play a very important role in the eradication or to prevent the spreading of diseases, like personal hygiene and sanitary facilities. We need to stress these two things. Personal hygiene is very important, but along with personal hygiene, community hygiene also very important to prevent the spreading of diseases. At the same time, local administrators must be provide sanitary facilities. So, by providing sanitary facilities, one can prevent spreading of diseases from one place to another place. So, personal hygiene and the provision of sanitary facilities are very important things. They are going to play to prevent the spreading of various kinds of diseases, right? Did the parasite come first or host? See the sentence carefully. Did the parasite come first or the host? In course of evolution, many organisms enters into the body of another organism, and slowly turning into a parasite. Once again I am repeating, in course of evolution, certain organisms enters into the body of another organism and slowly turning into a parasite, means it settled down forever. The entered organism settled down forever in the body of another organism. Here, this organism acts as host. This sentence clearly states that host comes first, then parasite. Right? In course of evolution, certain prokaryotes enters into body of eukaryotes. enters into body of eukaryotes. Prokaryotes, example bacteria. Prokaryotes do not have distinct nucleus, but eukaryotes have well developed nucleus. Certain prokaryotes enter into the body of eukaryotes, settled in it, and slowly turning out to be a parasite. Slowly turning out to be a parasite. Even playing a vital role. Even playing a vital role in the body of eukaryote. Certain prokaryotes enters into the body of eukaryotes and settled in it forever and slowly turning into a parasite, even playing a vital role in the life of eukaryotes. Can you guess one such prokaryotes? Mitochondria. Mitochondria is one such prokaryote. First empty cell is produced. Inside the cell, all the prokaryotes entered like what is that? Nucleus, mitochondria, ribosomes, Golgi complex. So all these cell organelles are called as prokaryotes. Right? Dr. Yallapragada Subbarao. Dr. Yallapragada Subbarao. Many of you might not have heard the name Yallapragada Subbarao, but he is a well-known biochemist. Well-known biochemist. He was born at Bhimavaram. Born at Bhimavaram of West Godavari district. West Godavari district. Right? He was very famous in biochemistry and medicine. He was discovered many drugs which transformed medical science, at the same time prevented death of many people. Prevented means it saved many people lives. The drugs are discovered by the Dr. Yallapragada Subbarao ji. He was generally called as miracle of wonder drugs. Miracle of wonder drugs. He was discovered many drugs which saved millions of people from deadly diseases. While he was studying in Madras Medical College, his younger and elder brother was died of due to tropical sprue disease. What is a tropical sprue? It is a chronic medical condition. Chronic medical condition which affects both children and adults. Affects children and adults. Which prevents proper absorption of food materials. Which prevents, this disease prevents absorption of food materials. And the common symptoms associated with tropical sprue is foul smelling, diarrhea, and emaciation. What is emaciation? Very lean and weak. The person becomes or looks very lean and weak. Right? So his younger and elder brother died of due to tropical sprue. So these are the symptoms of tropical sprue. Then he was deeply affected and decided to invent a medicine. Then he went to USA, joined in Harvard School of tropical medicine. Tropical medicine. Right? Later, he was joined as Director General or worked as a Director in Lateral Research Laboratory. Lateral Research Laboratory. So, for this Lateral Research Laboratory, he was worked as a director. It is a pharmaceutical company in USA, United States of America. He was continued there till his last breath. He was continued there till his last breath. Right? So, he was deeply affected and decided to invent a medicine to prevent a tropical sprue with which his two brothers was died of. Right? Now we will be discussing with the contributions of Dr. Yellapuradi Subbarao. Contributions means the discoveries of Dr. Yellapuradi Subbarao ji. He was discovered ATP and phosphocreatinine. Phosphocreatinine. ATP is the cellular source of energy. It is the battery of cell. It is the energy currency of the cell. Energy currency of cell, right? It is abbreviated as adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine is an organic molecule. Adenosine is the nucleoside. It is a nucleoside formed by the sugar and a nitrogen base. Sugar and a nitrogen base. The adenosine is connected to the 3 phosphates. Adenosine triphosphate. It is the cellular energy currency. And come to phosphocreatinine. This phosphocreatinine nothing but it is a Mugyl phosphogen. It is a Mugyl phosphogen. Phosphocreatinine. This Mugyl phosphogen naturally found in the muscles of human beings. Muscles of human beings. This Mugyl phosphogen acts as a source of ATP. It acts as a source of ATP during muscular contraction. During muscular contraction, ATP is converted into ADP plus inorganic phosphate. Now this ADP again regenerated into ATP by taking phosphate from phosphocreatinine. So the phosphocreatinine acts as source of ATP during muscular contraction. These two also discovered by the Dr. Yellapuradi Subbarao ji. Next, folic acid. Folic acid, it is a medicine which is used to treat tropical sprue. His elder and younger brother was died of tropical sprue. So folic acid is the medicine or which is the drug used to cure tropical sprue. Next, methotrexate. Methotrexate, it is anti-cancer drug. Anti-cancer drug which is used to cure cancer. Methotrexate. This methotrexate also used to cure certain non-cancerous diseases. Certain non-cancerous diseases like rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis. Rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis. Rheumatoid arthritis, it is a chronic inflammation. It is a chronic inflammation of joints. It is a joint related disorder, chronic inflammation of joints, which affects many joints including joints of hands and feet, including joints of hands and feet, right? Psoriasis, it is a skin disorder. It is a skin disorder. You know, scaly, itchy and dry patches. Scaly, itchy, dry patches seen on skin. Scaly, itchy, dry patches seen on skin. So, psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis are non-cancerous diseases. These two also cured by using methotrexate drug, which is discovered by Dr. Yellapragada Subbarao ji. Right? Very important thing. In 2018 NEET, one bit was given, that is autoimmune disorders. Autoimmune disorders. What are autoimmune disorders? In these autoimmune disorders, our own antibodies kills our own body cells. Our own antibodies destroys our own body cells due to unknown reasons or due to genetic reasons. Due to unknown or genetic reasons, our own antibodies destroys our own antibodies. Such kind of diseases are called as autoimmune disorders. So, rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis are considered as autoimmune disorders, right? Next, diethyl carbamazine. Diethyl carbamazine, which is abbreviated as DEC. The diethyl carbamazine, it is a popular drug which is used to cure filariasis. Filariasis or elephantiasis disease, which is only effective drug to cure filariasis or elephantiasis disease, right? Subbarao ji discovered world's first tetracycline. You know, tetracycline discovered by Yellapragada Subbarao ji. The first world's tetracycline is aureomycin. Aureomycin. This aureomycin drug, it is antibiotic which is used to cure cholera, plague, trench fever and typhus fever. Typhus fever, right? The cholera is caused by Vibrio cholerae bacteria. Vibrio cholerae bacteria. Plague disease caused by Yersinia pestis. It is also bacteria. And trench fever and typhus fever are caused by Bordetella species. Bordetella species. So, all these are bacterial diseases. Cholera, plague, trench fever, typhus fever are effectively cured by using aureomycin. It is an antibiotic, aureomycin. Aureomycin is the world's first tetracycline. Next, isonicotinic hydrazide. Isonicotinic hydrazide, which is the only effective drug to cure TB, tuberculosis, TB. Tuberculosis. You know, this is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculi. Mycobacterium tuberculei. Mycobacterium tuberculei is the bacteria which causes TB, which is prevented by using isonicotinic acid hydrozide drug. Yeah, these are the various kinds of contributions of Dr. Yellapragada Subbarao ji. You know, nowadays youth are getting addicted to alcohol, smoking cigarettes and consumption of drugs, which is completely Western influence through the media and movies. But the people are sufficiently educated about the harmful effects of these TDA, tobacco, drugs and alcohol consumption, particularly with the biological knowledge. The people are sufficiently educated, right? So by using biological knowledge, awareness created about the dangerous effects of TDA among the youth, right? Now we are going to discuss about parasitism and parasitic adaptations. Parasitism and parasitic adaptations. You know, every living organism has instinct to survive on this planet. So every organism has authority to survive on this planet, right? There are two basic needs. Living organisms need two basic things. One is food and second one is shelter. Second one is shelter, right? So food and shelter are the two basic needs of every living organism. Living organisms are of three types. Plants. You know, plants are autotrophs. These are autotrophs. They can make their own food materials by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight. In the presence of sunlight, they can make their own food materials. Whereas animals are heterotrophs. These are heterotrophs. They cannot make their own food materials. They depend either on plants or on another animals for deriving their nutritional requirements. But there are some other organisms which are named as parasites. These parasites lives at the cost of other organisms. Lives at the cost of other organisms. Parasites. So parasites are completely different from the plants and animals, right? So parasites lives at the cost of the other organisms. Parasites enter into the body of human beings by various means. They may be enter into the body through water or through air or through skin, right? But whenever parasites enter into the body of the host tend to reject or resist the parasite. Means the host is trying to eliminate the parasites from the body. Concurrently, parasites also evolved certain mechanisms in order to lead successful life in the body of the host. Host tend to reject. Concurrently, the parasites also evolved certain mechanisms in order to be successful inside the body of the host, right? So both are opposing with each other. One is trying to reject, but second one is trying to suppress the immunity system of the defense system of the host body, right? So in order to survive successfully in the body of the host, parasites adopted certain adaptations like reducing of unnecessary sense organs. Reducing of unnecessary sense organs. This is the first parasitic adaptation. And the second one is high reproductive capacity. High reproductive capacity. And development of adhesive organs. Development of adhesive organs. You know, what are adhesive organs? Adhesive organs like hooks, suckers, and rostellum. You know, I will discuss all these things with the help of diagram very soon. Hooks, suckers, and rostellum, these are the adhesive organs which are used to hold the body of the host. Which are used to hold the body of the host, means the parasites cling on to the body of the host by using hooks, suckers, and rostellum. Right? Next, high reproductive capacity. You know, host body trying to destroy or trying to eliminate 99% of the parasites, but still 1% is remaining. If the host body eliminate all the parasites, then there is no survival of the parasites inside the body of the host. So, in order to survive, they need to produce themselves in millions. So, they must have high reproductive capacity in order to survive in the body of the host, and they reduce unnecessary sense organs. If they have sense organs, they need to respond to the host body. They need to respond to the various stimuli inside the body of the host, like chemical stimuli. Right? So, they reduce unnecessary sense organs. These are the various kinds of parasitic adaptations to lead successful life in the body of the host. Right? Now, what is meant by parasitism? Parasitism, it is an intimate association between two different organisms. It is intimate association between two different organisms. Two different organisms. But these two organisms belongs to two different species, in which one is benefited, other one is affected. So, parasitism is a plus minus association. One is benefited, other one is adversely affected, severely affected. The organism which is getting benefit is called as a parasite. The organism which is affected is called as host. So, parasite is a gainer and host is a loser. Host is loser, parasite is gainer. The parasitism describes one can eat at another one's table. One can eat at another one's table. You remember this. Parasitism simply described as one can eat at another one's table. Your parasites getting free meals from the host. So, host is loser, but parasite is gainer.